Hi friends, this is plant lover Neil and you are watching Plant Smeller. In today's video, I'll provide you a kind of a framework that you'll need to start a vegetable garden. I'll discuss about all the things that you should keep in mind. So without wasting much time, let's get started. We'll cover initially the things that which we cannot control, and that are the things that we have to take in account while starting out a vegetable garden. The number one thing is weather. Depending on the region where you stay, the weather of your particular place varies quite a lot. So to know about the weather conditions at the place where you are staying, I would suggest you go to accuweather.com. On accuweather.com, you just have to type the city name of where you are located. Then it will provide you a historical data for your particular location. You can check for a particular month or for the whole year itself. So by doing that, you will come to know exactly how at your particular place your climate varies. Generally speaking, the weather varies from different place to place depending on your latitude, that is the location from the equator. If you are located near to the equator, then you'll have a climate which is more or less the same throughout the year. That is, it will be warmer, not very hot, and it will rain quite a lot, and the humidity will be quite high. As you go away from the equator, you enter into the subtropics. And in the subtropics, there are quite a range of climate depending on where you are located. It can either be in an arid climate, arid dry climate, like where we are at present in Ahmedabad, where we experience extremely dry conditions during the summer and extremely high heat, or it can be a climate which does not heat up that much and there are plenty of rain. So, depending on your location, that will vary. If you go further away from the equator, then you enter into the temperate zone. And the temperate climate, the colds are extremely severe, but the summers are extremely good for growing plants. Temperatures during the summertime is perfect for plant growth. And in the winters, you can grow plants that thrive in the cold climate. But in the extreme winter, obviously, when the temperature goes below freezing point, then obviously you cannot grow anything outside at least. When you go to this website accuweather.com, you'll come to know exactly how the climate varies in your particular place throughout the year, and you'll come to know about the exact time when you should start planting it vegetable garden. So once you have got the idea of the weather that you have in your particular place and how it varies over the months in a year, we'll now move to the next thing that you should keep in mind is about the pests and animals that are present at your place. The exact nature of the pests and the animals that will be freeloading on your crop, you'll come to know about them when you actually start growing. But if you've got some of your neighbors who have been growing, then you can ask them about if there are any animals that destroy their crop or raid their crop. In our place in Ahmedabad, the main pest is the monkeys that we get a lot during the peak harvesting time. They come very quietly and they raid the garden like as if we have grown the crops just for them. They eat all the harvest and they are very difficult to protect against. Unless you have a full cage to protect your crop, then I have tried using plastic netting, but they are quite smart and they outsmarted me every time. Anyway, so depending on the pests and animals present in your place, if you cannot win against them, then you have to grow crops that they do not like, and then you'll get something in the end. Otherwise, you will only end up feeding the animals. Depending on these two factors, we should look at the plants that we should grow for our vegetable garden. Now, there are different varieties of plants, and these plants vary in their growing period, the temperature requirement, difficulty in growing, the sensitivity to temperature changes. So depending on your particular climate, you'll have to select the easiest crops to grow. But there is a general rule of thumb. If the plant that you're growing is just for the leaves, that is, if you're growing some herbs like mint, lemongrass, basil, all these plants are easier to grow compared to plants that yield fruits or vegetables like bottle gourd, tomatoes, even tubers like potatoes. Depending on how much time you are willing to invest, I would suggest you should go with initially just the greens, which are easier to set up and are less demanding. If you like the result, then on the later years, you can then going into the fruiting crops like tomatoes, potatoes, lady's finger, and there are a lot of range of varieties, cauliflower. So once you have decided on what, depending on the climate that you are situated in, I'll show you from my particular place. I am in the, as mentioned before, I am in the subtropics and that too in the arid climate. And we are actually in the South Asia region in India. And this particular region has got a very typical climate, which is quite unique. The climate changes drastically after the July period. That is, we get a seasonal monsoon rain, which is every year after July, in June, July, from the Indian Ocean, the moist air comes up and into the Indian subcontinent, and we get plentiful of rain. This rain starts in June, July, and ends in October, in September, October. Except from this period of rain, that is from June, July to September, October, we do not receive any rainfall. So there are typical plants in our climate which thrive in the rainy season, which love the humidity and the rains. I'll be planting from the gourd family. That is, today I'll be planting bottle gourd, cucumber, and there are different varieties of cucumber. There is the English cucumber, there is the Indian cucumber. We'll also be planting some herbs like basil, mint, lemongrass. So all these plants are good for planting during this time of the year when we have received a lot of rainfall. And if you are watching this video from India, best season to start a vegetable garden in India is in the monsoon season because of the rains and the lower temperatures. It's quite easy for vegetables to grow in this climate. The negative point of the heavy rainfall is you'll have to initially protect the seedlings from the rains, and there will also be some pest issues initially when the plant is less mature. So you'll have to protect it. If you're growing organically, then you can use organic products like neem oil to protect your plants. Once you have got the list of plants that will thrive in the climate in which you are planning to start a vegetable garden, next thing is to get hold on the seeds or seedlings. If you are starting out, I would suggest you to go to your nursery and get seedlings. But if you want to start the garden from seeds, then you can do that. It will be a bit more challenging and the results might not be as great as you might expect because there is a huge difference for caring for a plant seedling than caring for a mature plant. It's like you have to care for a baby to grow up into a mature plant. You have to take care about the growing medium and the watering conditions quite well. If you are going for growing plants from seed, then I would suggest you to get seeds that are from a reputed company and that have their packaging date mentioned on the seed packet. Because if a seed is older than a year, then the viability of the seed decreases quite a lot. There are some plants that you can basically grow from the kitchen scraps, like mint, and onion greens can be grown from onion scraps. So you can go that way too. Without investing in seeds or seedlings, you can simply put your kitchen scraps into the garden and start your vegetable or herb garden. In my case, the seeds that I have taken is an assortment of different varieties. Basically, there are around 45 varieties of vegetables and herbs. The product is available in India on online e-commerce. The name of the product is Aero Seeds, and I'll provide you a link. If you are in India, you can go to the Amazon or Flipkart and get this seed packet. It's quite economical and the reviews are quite good. The seed viability from this particular seller is quite good, and they mention on the seed packet the date of packaging, which is less than 6 months in my case. So once you get a good quality seed, the next thing is to plan the layout of your terrace garden. This depends on several factors, basically how much soil the plant needs. If you're growing plant that will be quite large, like crops from the cucumber family, like bottle gourd, cucumber, snake gourd, they require larger pot. I'll be growing plants from the gourd family as well as plants that do not require that much space, like some greens like amaranth and Since I'll be growing in the summer season, I'll not be growing spinach, but in the winter I'll be growing that. In the summers, I'll be starting some herbs like mint, lemongrass. So these herbs and green plants do not require that much amount of space. You can also grow lady's finger in smaller pot. It will not give that much harvest, but it will grow and you will receive some harvest. You can also grow eggplant in a 15-inch wide pot. You will get a decent harvest. So we'll be planting some eggplants, some chilies. So depending on the crop that you are planning to grow, you have decided about the containers that you'll need, number of containers as well as the size. Now you need to know about how to place them. To know the ideal placement for your planters, you'll have to know about the direction of the sun, in which direction the sun rises and in which direction the sun sets. Accordingly, you'll come to know in which area of the backyard or terrace you receive the most sunlight. In my case, I place all the containers facing the east. The reason for that is in my place, as mentioned, we are in the subtropical climate. We receive a lot of heat, and till the evening time, it becomes very hot. So, by placing the planters in the east side, I'll ensure that during the early morning times it receives the full sun, and during the evening time it gets shaded by the wall that is behind it. I've divided my terrace garden into two rows. The one row, as mentioned, is facing the east, but the second row is right in the middle of the terrace. So in this row, I'll be growing plants that require a lot of sun, and they do not mind on the high temperatures. So in this row, I'll be growing the plants from the gourd family like snake gourd, bottle gourd. Once you have decided on the placement and the container size, the next thing is if you are growing it on your terrace, you have to make sure that the planter does not remain wet entirely at the bottom of the terrace because that will cause water seepage. And to ensure that the bottom part of the planter dries out, you have to ensure that there is enough air circulation between the planter and your terrace floor. I've achieved this by raising the planter on bricks and using a pipe and the curved edge of my terrace to support the planter. In the market, you'll find raised stands to place planters that also achieve the same purpose. That is, it allows the terrace floor to dry out after your planter has been watered. So this is quite important. The planters do not dry out, it will cause water seepage. Okay, now the next thing is the soil that we'll be growing the plants in. You can grow plants in any type of soil, but if your growing soil is not good, the result that you'll get, the harvest that you'll get, will be quite poor. I have experienced this personally when I started growing my terrace garden. I started with just normal garden soil, and the results were not good at all. The reason for that is for growing plants, especially in containers, it's quite essential that the soil that you use is lighter and has a lot of organic matter which will prevent soil compaction and it drains out easily. So these are the characteristics of a good potting soil. Online you can purchase a good potting soil, but I usually do everything on my own. I'm kind of a self-sufficient person. So I have developed my own soil using the vegetable scrap that is generated in the kitchen. We create our own compost. So we use a 50% mixture of garden soil and vegetable compost. Apart from this, we also add some more organic matter like bone meal that we make on our own. We have got a detailed video showing you how we do it. I'll provide you the links down in the video description. Bone meal provides phosphorus to the plants, which is normally deficient in garden soil. Phosphorus allows the plants to get larger yields as it improves the entire photosynthesis capacity. The rooting systems are also quite dependent on phosphorus, especially if you are growing crops that are tubers, then adding bone meal will drastically improve the yield of your crop. So depending on what type of plant you are growing, again this amount of fertilizer depends on it. Again, plants that does not require a big container require a less amount of fertilizers. Apart from initially adding the 50% compost, you'll also have to top it up when the plant is in the mature stage. This ensures that the plant receives the required nutrients to generate the good yield that you'll get in the end. There's one more thing that you should always do when you're growing plants, especially in a hot and dry climate like where I'm growing. That is, you should mulch the soil. Mulching affects the soil in multiple ways. It prevents erosion from wind, water, as well as it keeps the soil temperature low by protecting direct sunlight from falling onto the surface of the soil and raising its temperature. And obviously, it provides a even amount of moisture to the soil and it prevents it from drying out. It reduces the amount of water required to irrigate your plants. So mulching is must, and even in cooler climates you should do it because of its multiple benefits. And one more benefit is it keeps the weeds away. So once you do this, all these benefits you will achieve from mulching. You can use straw or any organic matter like wood chips also can be used to mulch. I am using at present coconut leaves, that is the stripped leaves. I generate this mulch on my own from my coconut tree that is in my backyard garden. You can create this mulch by simply stripping away the center stick from a coconut leaf. If you are interested on how to get this mulch, let me know down in the comment section and I'll make a dedicated video of how you can do this at your place. You can create a mulch from any organic matter which takes time to break down. After doing all of this, the next thing is watering. Watering is quite essential, especially for growing vegetables and herbs. You have to ensure that you do not overwater the plant as well as do not underwater it. And the easiest way to achieve this is by using a irrigation system like we are using a drip irrigation system. You can further automate the process by adding a timer like we have done at our place. By doing this, plants will get the daily water needs, and you will not need to worry about forgetting to water the plants. Or even if you go for a vacation, your plants can be watered. But if you're planning to just start out gardening without a lot of investment, you can water it manually using spray bottle. The thing that you should keep in mind while manually watering the plants is you should not pour the water with a lot of force because water erodes the soil and it also causes compaction of the soil. So if you're growing plants in containers, the number one enemy of the roots is the soil compaction, and adding water at a lot of force will eventually cause the soil to compact. So I'll suggest you to use a spray bottle to water the plant, and I have got dedicated video of how you can create a spray bottle from a normal pet soda bottle. You can check that out, it's down in the video description. Apart from this, you should not overwater the plants. Even overwatering the plants is bad for the roots because roots not only needs water, they also need air. And without air, the roots decompose. When the roots are decomposing, the plant will not do well. So when you take care of all these things, the end result will be bountiful of harvest from your terrace garden, which you can then relish. So I hope friends like this detailed guide of how you can grow herbs and vegetables in your own terrace or backyard garden. If you like this video, smack that like button, share this video with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel Plant Smeller. We have got a lot of content on gardening, from DIY projects to plant propagation, and a lot is coming shortly. So make sure to hit that bell icon to get notified as soon as we release a new video. Thanks for watching friends. This is Neil signing off. Bye bye.